Welcome back. Chapter 30, Ruth. I so loved my birth name, Ava Morales. It felt graceful and ethereal, like it could belong to a ballerina. Ruth Sterling sounded like a young woman who was Ava's opposite, a sturdy, stoic individual who worked hard and didn't complain. Those were qualities I desperately needed. I wanted to become Ruth Sterling in more ways than one. I became Ruth shortly before Catherine was born, when I saved up enough money for a professional grade ID, something better than the fake driver's license with the name Jones Smith I bought for $40. The first ID had been good enough to get me a waitressing job and a rental room in an apartment sublet by another single mom. But I didn't go to a college boy to create Ruth Social Security card and birth certificate. I knew I had to pass for 18 when I gave birth to Catherine for a few reasons. If I was an adult in the eyes of the authorities, no one would take my baby away from me. And as long as my ID held up and no one questioned it, I could give birth in a hospital and Catherine would receive her own Social Security card with the last name that matched mine. It would be the first vital step in building her identity. One of the other waitresses at work knew someone who could do it. She gave me concise instructions. I was to wait on a certain street corner with $500 in cash in an envelope. I was to pass it to a man wearing an Eagle jersey. I could not ask a single question. The next week, I stood on the same corner at the appointed time, and almost before I knew what was happening, a different man walked past me and thrust a manila envelope into my hands, then continued down the street without missing a step. My transformation was complete. Sometimes I think about the real Ruth, who died at 12, years before I took over her name. Our lives would never have intersected under ordinary circumstances. Ruth was born with a rare heart defect and lived with her big family in Wisconsin on a dairy farm. The names of all her brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles were listed, along with Ruth's parents. In the obituary that ran in her local newspaper, the one I read on microfilm at the library when I was searching for a solid new identity, one I could permanently keep, being Ruth meant I could get food stamps and wig vouchers for eggs and cereal during one terrible stretch when I was between jobs and Catherine was hungry. Because I'm Ruth in the eyes of government, I can pay taxes, which means when I'm old enough, I'll be able to collect Social Security. Nowadays, it's much harder to take an identity than it was 25 years ago. There's a slim chance I could be caught, but that risk seems to diminish with every passing year. Sometimes I wish I could bring flowers to the real Ruth's grave and ask for her forgiveness. If I can tell her anything, I would say I'm so sorry she lost her life far too soon, but I hope she knows she saved mine. I lean back against the Bonneville, feeling the heat the metal has absorbed radiating against my back as I stare at the entrance of sunrise. My hand rises in a salute to shade my eyes as the sun dips towards the horizon. I've been here all day long, waiting and watching. Every 30 minutes or so, I patrol the parking lot, both to stretch my legs and to check my surroundings. The low rumble of an engine catches my attention. I watch as a FedEx truck glides up in front of Sunrise and the driver jumps out. He opens the back of the truck and I glimpse rows of brown boxes with the familiar purple logo. He selects a small one and shuts the door, then disappears into the building. I push away from the Bonneville and begin to patrol the lot again. Catherine will emerge from the building soon. I'll be here when she does. So you think. Chapter 31, Catherine. I force myself to smile as I tap my knuckles against the door. George Campbell opens it a moment later, wearing jeans and a t-shirt that shows off his still fit physique. At 76, he plays golf every Saturday, lifts light weights every other day, and drives wherever he needs to go. The last bit is key. June, it's Catherine. He's delighted to see me, which makes me feel guilty. I offer up the for-you wrap paper I made from the leftovers in the break room. We had extra pizza and I thought you might enjoy some. Excuse me. George and June act like I'm offering them a 3-course meal. They're so kind and gracious that it makes what I'm about to do even harder. Can you sit with us for a while? George asks. We just opened a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. I glance back towards the front door. I've already checked to make sure the little green bowl is still on their console, but I can't see what's inside it. If I take George up on his offer and sip a glass of wine, I'll have more time to check things out. But I don't know when Pizza Pizzaya closes, and it's far more important that I get there tonight. People typically stick to their routines. I reassure myself, there's no reason George would have changed his. Thank you, but I need to run. Rain check? As I say this, I let my purse strap slip down on my shoulder. My bag is unzipped and a few small loose objects are near the top. George sees me to the door as I knew he would, and as I go to hug him goodbye, I let my purse fall to the ground. The lipstick and cylinder of mascara and loose coins I've strategically positioned scattered across the floor. George immediately bends down to pick everything up, and I reach over him to feel around in the round bowl. I touch a sharp metal edge and pull out the keys to his Cadillac. There in my palm before George finished picking the last coin up off the floor. He puts everything back in my purse and gives it to me. Thank you so much. I keep my right fist clenched around his keys as I leave, promising to see them soon. I intend to keep that promise. First thing tomorrow morning, I'll make up an excuse about missing something from my purse and wanting to check to see if it rolled under their entryway table. George's keys will be back in the bowl before he ever misses them, and I'll replace any gas I use. I wish I could have asked George if I could borrow the Cadillac, but that car is his baby. I knew the request would make him uncomfortable, and I couldn't risk him saying no. My hair is pinned up in a style I never wear, and I'm still in my scrubs. It isn't a great disguise, but my mother knows I never wear scrubs to and from work, so if she catches a glimpse of me from a distance, she may not immediately identify me. Plus, the few residents who still drive get the parking spots closest to the building, which means all I have to do is walk about 10 yards out in the open without my mother spotting me. I wait inside the front of Sunrise until a visiting middle-aged couple signs out at the front desk and departs. I step outside a beat after they do, trying to position myself so that they provide a screen between me and the Bonneville. 5 yards to the Cadillac. George's keys are pointed outward in my hand. I keep my head ducked low and move to the side of the vehicle, crouching down while I unlock the door and slide in. I start the engine, throw my backpack on the passenger seat, and back out of the spot. In a few seconds, I'll know if my mother has seen me. I drive to the exit and turn right onto the 2-lane road, then glance in the rearview mirror. If the Bonneville roars up after me, I don't know what I'm going to do. The road behind me is clear. I step on the gas, exceeding the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, and coast through a traffic light just as it turns yellow. The only vehicle in sight is a FedEx truck. I'm free. Whew. Dusk is leaching the color out of the sky. The highway is busy now at the tail end of rush hour, but traffic moves steadily. I stay in the middle lane, keeping several car lengths behind a vehicle ahead of me. My full attention is on driving safely. I don't even look towards my phone when it buzzes with an incoming call. If I got in an accident and had to confess I'd taken the Campbell's car, I'd be fired, or worse, charged with theft. The thought of those potential repercussions should have me turning around at the next exit, but all I do is grip the wheel a little more tightly and stare straight ahead. 24 years of lies strengthening my resolve. You know that's true because her conscience ain't kicking in yet. Her name begins with an A. Tonight, I'm determined to finally learn the truth about my mother. I reached Pizza Pizzaio a little before 7:30 p.m. The restaurant is located at the end of a strip mall, past a grocery store, beauty salon, and bank. Vehicles fill the parking area closest to the restaurant. It's clearly a popular place. I pull into a spot in the middle of the lot near the grocery store. When I cut my headlights, I realize how dark it has become. I check to make sure no one is nearby. Then I climb into the back seat and quickly change into shorts and a fresh shirt I pull out of my backpack. I double check that my legal pad is inside my purse in case I need to write anything down, and then I step out, lock the doors, and walk towards the restaurant. I might be retracing footsteps my mother left as a teenager, I think. When my fingers stretch out for the big metal door handle, I imagine the ghost of her is doing the same. An electric pulse races through me. Something makes me turn around, but no one is there. I step inside and noise hit me like a slap. The place is packed. Dozens of animated conversations fill the room with laughter cutting through it all. At rectangle tables in the middle of the floor, a family celebrates a child's birthday, and a softball team is in matching jerseys dig into a post-game meal. Wooden booths line the walls, each lit by a votive candle in red glass holders. A woman wearing a white button-down shirt and black slacks is behind the hostess stand. She looks about my age, which is a disappointment. She wouldn't have known my mother. Welcome to Pizza Pizzaio, table 4, just one. She nods and picks up a menu from the top of her stack. This way, please. I scan my surroundings as I follow her to a booth. Bread loaf pans filled with the restaurant's signature dish are atop on many of the tables. I watch as the waitress ease out squares with a flat spatula, serving them to the couple at his table, and think of the many times my mother has done the same for me. The hostess walks me across the restaurant to a tiny booth in the back, and I choose the side that affords me the best view of the other diners. Directly behind me is the kitchen, where I can hear the clanking of dishes and loud voices behind the closed swinging doors. Instead of studying the menu, I pull out my phone. The call I missed was from Ethan. He didn't leave a message. Perhaps he's already drinking and wanted company tonight. I flick away the notice of his call from my screen, then navigate to my photos. I search through them until I find a recent one of my mother. It isn't a great shot. Someone took it of us at my college graduation, and she's wearing big sunglasses, so I keep looking. I scroll through the entire year's worth of photos, then work my way even further back. I can't believe I never noticed it before. I only have about 24 pictures of my mom on my phone. In every one, she's wearing her oversized rectangle sunglasses or turning away from the camera so it isn't a clear shot of her face. It can't be a coincidence. I return to the picture of us at my college graduation, enlarging it on my screen so only she shows. My waiter approaches, a guy of about 30. I tell him I like a Coke and ask for his recommendations for my entree. You've got to try the lasagna pizza, he says. The smallest size served 2, but I can pack up your leftovers. I tell him that sounds perfect. He starts to turn away, but when I say, "Can I ask you something?" he spins back around. The waiter looks too young to be of any help, but it's possible he's older than I think. I have to try. This might sound a little weird, but I'm trying to find a woman who used to come here all the time. I slide my phone towards him, pointing to the screen. He looks down and frowns. Sorry, I don't think I've ever seen her. Hard to tell with the sunglasses. Yeah, it was years and years ago. Is there anyone else I could talk to who has worked here for a really long time? My manager has been for here forever. I can ask him. That would be great. The waiter hurries off, returning a few minutes later with a Coke in a tall glass. He places it in front of me and tells me the manager will be over soon. I already feel like I'm buzzing with energy and nerves, so I don't need the sugar and caffeine, but I swallow half of my beverage in one long gulp. It's impossible to keep my hands still. I pull a napkin out of the holder on top of my table and begin to shred it into strips. Then I roll each one up into a little ball. I'm about to start on my second napkin when a man approaches my table. He's a genial looking guy with silver rimmed glasses and close cropped graying hair, and his name tag identifies him as the manager. Hi, I'm Rich. Is there something I can help you with? I nod eagerly, my throat growing dry despite all the liquid I just swallowed. I'd really appreciate it. I'm trying to find someone who used to come here often, a young woman. It was a long time ago, though. How long? Almost 25 years ago. She would have been in high school then. His smile slides away. What's her name? It begins with an A. I start to push the phone closer to him, but he doesn't look at it. His brows furrow. When he doesn't immediately speak, my nerves take over and I start to babble. She didn't work here, but she came in here a lot. She had really long hair back then. She may have been on the pom squad at her high school. The manager no longer appears angry. He's furious now. Almost 25 years ago? His eyes narrow as he bites off each word. And you're trying to find her now? Is this a joke? I shake my head. What? No. He folds his arm. Where are you from? Me? Pennsylvania. But What newspaper are you from? Who sent you? He's almost shouting. I'm not. The waiter approaches with my meal, then stops short a few feet away. You can stay until you finish your dinner, but if you bother any of my staff or any customer, I'm calling the police. He storms off. Oh, so they still must be mad at Ava. I stare after the manager in complete bewilderment as the waiter slips the pizza dish onto the table, then hurries away too. I watch as the manager talks to the waiter, gesturing and shooting a dirty look in my direction. I stare back at them, blinking in confusion. My interaction with the manager was so bizarre it feels almost like a disjointed dream. I'm left trying to make sense of the pieces. He seemed to have known who I was talking about, but his reaction was so extreme. It's as if my mother personally hurt him. What did she do? The closer I get to her truth, the more alien and hostile the world seems. My entire body is gripped by uncontrollable trembling. I want to call the manager back and explain I'm the daughter of the woman he's so angry with. But what if that only incites him more? The waiter swings by my table and sets down my bill and walks away without a word. It's a clear message, especially considering I've yet to take a bite of food. I'm not welcome here. I can't bring myself to leave, though. This restaurant is the closest connection I have to my mother's past. The manager isn't trying to hide the fact that he's watching me from across the floor. I won't be able to talk to anyone else with him around. Maybe I can wait in the parking lot until other staff members leave and show them my mother's photo. Someone has to be able to tell me the truth. Movement catches my eye. Uh-oh. Is Ruth there? Or James? The hostess is leading another single diner, a man wearing a baseball cap, to a two-top table not far from mine. He's so chiseled, he looks as if he is carved out of marble. I can see a tattoo on his arm, though it isn't a colorful artistic symbol like Ethan's wear. This man's tattoo is composed of a blue-black hue, and it looks amateurish. The man is acting appropriately. He sits down and toys with his silverware as he gazes around the restaurant. Yet, I find myself edging away until I'm pressed against the far side of my booth, angling into the position where I'm shielded by a family sitting at the table between us so he can't see me. When the man looks down at his menu, I peek out again and let my eyes travel over him. I feel helpless to stop looking at him. I take in the thick twin deltoids rising up in the space between the top of his shoulders and his tortoiseshell glasses, and his long shaggy black hair flowing out from beneath his hat. Then I stare more closely at the royal blue baseball cap he's wearing. There's a logo or something on it I can't quite see. It looks like a cartoon character or maybe an animal. I lift up my phone and pretend to be looking at my messages. In actuality, I navigate to the camera function and enlarge my view until it zeroes in on the blue baseball cap. My hand is still trembling so hard it takes a moment to zero in on the image. When I do, I see it isn't a cartoon character. I was right the second time. It's an animal, a panther. I stare at the big golden cat, the skin around his mouth stretched back to reveal his fangs, his claws outstretched as if he's poised to attack. A panther, blue and gold. My mouth goes dry. It can't be a coincidence. That's the mascot for my mother's old high school. This guy must have kids who currently attend it, or maybe graduated from there. He could have known my mother. He looks to be of her generation. I'm still holding up my camera and gazing at the image on my screen when the man turns his head slightly and stares directly into my eyes through the camera lens, like he knows I'm watching him. I immediately duck my head and drop my phone back into my purse and slip the strap over my shoulder, feeling a chill run through me. I need to talk to this guy, but with the manager hovering nearby, I can't just walk right up to another customer and ask to join him at his table. I'm so lost in my thoughts, I almost miss the first sign that something is terribly wrong. Then I hear a woman cry out, and I look up to see the family at the nearby table staring at me, their expressions worry. For a wild, shaky moment, I wonder if the manager has somehow spoken to them and turned them all against me. It isn't until I smell smoke that I realize they aren't looking at me, they're staring at something behind me. I whip around and see thick black smoke curling around the edges of the kitchen door. Then the swinging door burst open, crashing against the wall, and the cooks come tearing out. The fire is impossibly swift. Red and orange flames leap out of the kitchen and climb up the dining room wall as if someone splashed around an accelerant. The restaurant erupts into chaos. Shouts and high-pitched screams fill the air as parents pick up their children and run towards the front door. Chairs are knocked over in the scramble as a loud voice yells in vain for everyone to keep calm. Black smoke rolls through the restaurant like a small suffocating wave. As I watch, it seems to swallow up the softball team in their matching jersey. I can't move. I'm mesmerized. Fire has always transfixed me. I watch the flames blaze higher, stretching out like a sheet billowing in the wind, covering one entire wall before reaching for the ceiling. Someone pulls the fire alarm and the siren blares. I cough as tears leak from my stinging eyes. Smoke sears my lungs. In the distance, I hear sirens, but they sound far away. I can't see anyone else right now. They've all disappeared. I've waited too long. I need to get out right now. The front door where I came in is all the way at the opposite end of the restaurant. I noticed a closer side exit earlier, but I can't see it anymore. There are big windows all around the restaurant, but I don't know if I'll be able to open any of them. Smoke keeps pouring into the room, obscuring my vision. Terror chains me to my seat. I don't know which way to go. I take another breath and cough harder, struggling to pull clean oxygen into my lungs. My throat is burning and smoke clouds my vision. If I try to make it to the front door, I may not get there in time. I could crawl toward the side door, but what if I can't find it? This is how people often die in burning buildings. Smoke inhalation kills them before flames ever touch them. Before I can do anything to try to save myself, a figure bursts out of the kitchen, seemingly to dart through a wall of fire, almost blending in with the smoke. I can't tell if it's a man or a woman, but the person is heading directly for me in the booth, like I'm their target. Catherine! Dizziness engulfs me. This can't be happening. It's impossible. My mother has a streak of black soot smearing her forehead and a small towel tied over her nose and mouth. Her eyes hold a wildness I've never seen before. She grabs my arms and yanks me out of the booth. Move! She half drags me to the side exit as my body is racked by uncontrollable coughing. Nothing makes sense. Not my mother's presence here, not the lethal-looking knife she's clenching in her free hand, and not her words. He's here, she whispered urgently. He's been watching you. Oh my goodness, that's the end of chapter 31, and that's the end of Act 2. He's here. He's been watching her. James? It gotta be. There's nobody else, right? Right, it gotta be James. How have he been watching her? He had to be the one on the other end, right? Of the Facebook. And he knew she was going to come because she said she was going to come, but he didn't know when. So he stuck around. And being at the fact that Ruth have a second tracking thing on her phone, so she knew exactly where she was. Oh, it's about to go down, y'all. It is about to go down. You hear me? Okay, this is the third act will be coming up soon, and this is the last act. So we about to get all the information we need to get, right? See you in Act 3. Bye.